phrase of martos, a person who is a person who is a witness, a proper witness of Jesus Christ, is a man or a woman who has already died to self. In the process of dying, then comes the witnessing. And so this is what Jesus said would happen, and it's exactly what happened here. And so, here we see Saul, who was this young man at the time, and who would later become Paul the Apostle, who wrote the majority of the New Testament. And there he was, consenting in the death of Stephen. Now there's a lot of things just looking at these couple of verses that I want to reiterate on, because I think it's a lot of things that'll spark your guys' interest concerning Saul. And I think here, just this statement that Paul was consenting to his death. The term literally means voting. That's what consenting means. That Saul casted his vote for the death of Stephen. Now what's interesting here is the Sanhedrin had the authority to put someone to death, but it couldn't be for religious purposes. It had to be for something political. And this is probably what they were trying to charge him with at the time. The same thing that they did with Jesus. Remember, that they couldn't really get him for nothing religious, but they got him for something political. What did they say? That he didn't want to pay taxes unto Caesar, and that he said he was king. And what were the Jews saying? There's no other king but Caesar. And what they were doing is they were making the trial of Christ a political trial, because the Jews could not put someone to death for religious purposes. Rome had the power at that time to put people to death. So here, in the same token, here Saul is consenting, to the death of Stephen here. And what ends up happening here, when we look at this verse, it shows me something I think that's very important for us to take note of. Saul consenting, Saul voting. Those of the Sanhedrin court are the only ones that can vote in this type of particular case to the area of death. And listen, if Saul was consenting and he was voting, then Saul was most likely a member of the Sanhedrin court. One of the